Hi guys, and happy Friday! Hope you are having a nice day. Today I have two stories for you. The first one is a long one, so listen till the end to hear my insights. It is about an evil stepmother who, in my opinion, is after OP's dad's money. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't be shy to leave a comment. So, my 18 male parents, 73 male, 58 female, are divorced. But their relationship has always been amazing. They would have lunch at least once per month and could count on each other, which meant that I used to spend time with both of them daily. I have always had a good relationship with my father. I spent every summer with him. We would live and work together. About 2 years ago, he invited me to come to live with him, which I accepted. Even with the age difference, things worked out all right. We settled our differences by talking, and we would spend most of our time together, not only in our spare time, but we would also work together. His house, unlike my mother's, was 5 minutes from high school and 15 minutes from most of my friends, which gave me the opportunity to start having a social life. Unfortunately, I suffered a knee injury last July and was in bed until the end of August, which forced me to return to my mother's house, which has no stairs. My father, even while I was bedridden, used to come see me, and when I started to be able to walk again, he would take me to lunch or see the sea. He always said to me that I would return home in September when I could move again. When my dad invited me, he used to have a girlfriend, 50s, female, with who I had a good relationship, but they separated about a year ago. At the beginning of September, my dad was interviewing some people for a position inside the company when he met someone, 44 female. He told me that he was taking her out to dinner, so I actually called a friend and got them a table at the nicest restaurant in the region. About a week later, I met her for the first time. She didn't have the best looks, but seemed like a nice person. She actually remarked that my father's relationship with me was truly something amazing. I dined with her and my father 2 more times. In those dinners, I started to notice some weird things about her. She had a lot of nervous tics, and sometimes she would sound very bossy. For example, my father said to me, "Oh, Annan, tomorrow I will be going to X city. Would you like to come with me?" And she said to him, "Hey, we should talk about that at home." She moved into my father's in the same week my classes began. I asked my father if I could return home, but he told me to wait a week or 2 so that she could get accustomed to the house. I agreed. Some days later, I visited my father. I had forgotten my keys, so I rang the bell. I saw her look at me and go back inside. And about 20 minutes later, my dad came and opened the door. When I got inside, my father seemed nervous, but I figured it was probably work-related. We hugged and went to the kitchen to get some coffee and talk. While we were talking, she shouted, "Shut up! I'm trying to work!" By the way, my father gave her a job. My father and I moved to his office, which is detached from his bedroom by just a door. We were talking about some work-related subjects when I realized that his bedroom was different. There were a lot of her clothes on top of the bed, and my father's family photos had disappeared. She then burst into the room without saying a thing, shut the door into the bedroom with a loud bang, almost breaking it, and left us with a mad look on her face. My father was really taken aback by this. He told me that things are rough, and we continued working. About 30 minutes later, she came and asked me for some help. My father told me to help, and so I followed her to the living room where she told me with a smile on her face, "This is not your house anymore. Now I'm the boss." I was really taken aback and laughed. I went for a walk with my father, who told me that she felt insecure and that she saw me as a danger, and that was why she was behaving this way. He told me that they would speak and that she would start behaving herself. Sometime later, my father told me that he had gotten married to her, which I told him that was very strange. Firstly, because they had known each other for less than 2 months, and secondly, because it's not normal for women to get married in court without any party or guests. I should probably tell you that my father is easily one of the 20th richest men in my country. He might be worth from $500 million to $2 billion. We live as usual people, however, spend about $4 to $5K monthly. Last Christmas, he invited me over to have lunch with them on the 25th. On the 22nd, my father called me and asked me to join them so that we could all get tested. I found this strange but agreed, and we all got tested. None of us had COVID. On the 23rd, I bought them presents and went to visit my grandma who, because of COVID, wasn't allowed to leave her nursing home. When I got there, I unexpectedly saw my father and his wife. My father saw me with my mother, and his eyes opened instantly, like he had seen a ghost. My mother got the clue and went to the car, but I continued on his way to say hello. When his wife saw me, she grabbed him and told him to put a mask on and get away from me. He, however, hugged me and she left for the car in anger. While I was leaving, I could hear her shouting in the car. I called my father on the evening of the 24th to wish him a good Christmas. And he started telling me that his wife didn't want me for lunch because she was afraid of COVID, and that because of that, I could only join them after lunch. I told him that this was bullcrap, but that I preferred to be with him after lunch than not being with him at all. He called me on the 25th after lunch saying that I could not even join them after lunch, not giving any excuses, and getting angry when I questioned him why I couldn't go. Since that day, things have been going downhill. His wife has removed my number several times from my father's phone, and all of our phones in his house have disappeared. My father only allows me in the house or to have lunch with him when she's out of town. When we go somewhere, he tells her that he is alone, and sometimes he doesn't see me or answer my calls for a week. We used to speak daily, even when one of us was away. Most days, he seems very unhappy and nervous, and tries to not have contact with me. But when she is out of town, he always invites me to hang out or have lunch, and he seems very happy. Several other people have said this to me. Every time I question him on what's going on, he tries to make up excuses. Sometimes he says it's COVID. I always wear a mask, and he was vaccinated in January. Sometimes he just makes up nonsense, but on several occasions, he has told me that she pressured him to not be with me. Last week, my father called me telling me that my sisters, I have 5 half-siblings that live far away. The youngest is 34 years old, and the oldest is 53 years old. We're coming over for the weekend because of the lifting of a lot of COVID restrictions on traveling. I got very excited as I haven't seen them for almost a year. The next day, he called again, telling me that his wife was pressuring him to leave town that weekend so that he could run from what he had told them. One of my father's most used phrases is, "My door is never closed to any of my children." I told him that he should either take them in or be honest with them, that running away was a cowardly thing to do. He told me that he would consider things and tell me his final decision Thursday. Thursday, he called me and said that my sisters were coming out, but all of us had to be tested. I agreed and bought a test. Friday, I got tested and called him to ask if everything was already set up. He told me everything was okay. 1 hour before we were to have lunch, he called me saying that I wasn't allowed to join them. I asked him why I couldn't go, and he hung up. This really affected me, as I felt I was being treated like a bastard, and my mother saw that. She called him and told him that he wasn't acting as a father should. Since then, I haven't spoken to my father. The next day, without him knowing, my sisters came to visit me before they traveled back. They told me that my father was furious. I can't figure out why, and that his wife had been pretty rude to them. Monday, I wrote him a letter telling him how I felt about the whole situation, that the current situation would eventually lead us to falling apart, that I knew that he loved me and that he was being this way because of her, that in my opinion, she was mining our relationship deliberately, that I thought that him suffering constant pressure from his wife to not be with his children wasn't right, that I hoped we could find a solution to all of this, and telling him that I was always available to talk to him. I got a common friend to hand it to him when he was alone, but he hasn't told me anything yet. I would be very thankful if you guys could try and help understand the situation. All and any comment will be well received. So guys, I think the situation is very clear here. I can see what this woman's goal is. She wants to separate father from children, ruin their relationship, and get all the inheritance. Looks like her plan is working. If OP's father has such a vast amount of wealth, he surely must have a regular lawyer and financial advisors and all sorts of folks like that. I think OP should call the family lawyer, if there is such, and tell him his concerns for his father and see what can be done. I think OP needs to take actions as soon as possible. Do you agree with me, guys? Update. I decided that I should probably add some context to the whole situation. My grandfather grew up without a father. His father died in the Spanish Civil War, and he placed my father in a military boarding school when he turned 9 or 10, which he would only leave when he was 18. This means that my father effectively grew up without his family, which led him to not having the family concept. In his opinion, being a father doesn't carry any responsibilities. The father owes nothing to his children. None of my siblings grew up with my father. The ones from his first marriage because their mother was infidelity, and they grew up with her, and my sister also grew up with their mother. This has always meant that they envied the relationship I had with my father, and that they don't really get along with him. Some of them can pass several months a year without even speaking with him. At least one doctor is manic depressive, like a bipolar on steroids. But my father has never seen treatment, and won't allow anybody to even mention it. About 2 months ago, my father came to me talking about what would happen if he died. I didn't find it strange, as it's not the first time he wants to talk about it. And he told me that he would leave everything to me and my siblings, but that he wanted to make me the manager of the company, so that if he died, I would be the one running this until the inheritance was dealt with. He said that he had made that offer to me and to his wife so that we could do it together, but that she didn't want to take part in it. My father then backpedaled, saying that I should become manager only in the summer when I finish high school, because he wanted me to start actually running it, and he felt that it would hinder my studies. Both of my brothers work in the company, so if anything changed, they would tell me. Regarding his marriage and inheritance, most couples in Portugal own their assets jointly, but the law states that in any marriage in which one of the parties is older than 60, that nobody gets anything from the other in a divorce. The law also states that none of his children can be disinherited, and that all children of his are owed a fair share in his will. Which means that if any of us disagreed with the percentage of his assets that we were getting, the state would step in and sort it out, not her or any lawyer. When he told me he had gotten married, I asked him if he had gotten insane. And he told me not to worry, that he didn't give a crap about the importance of marriage, and that if he wanted to, he would get rid of her in less than a second. About a month ago, my father told me that she had to be rushed to the ER of Region Hospital because of mental issues. She stayed there for about a day, and the doctors didn't want her to leave. He never touched on the matter again. Looks like OP doesn't need to worry about his dad's will, but he shouldn't forget that while he is alive, he can do whatever he wants, transfer property and money to whoever he wants. And it is very difficult to prove that he was alienated and deceived once he died, in addition to the huge outlay it would cost the children to prove it. Clearly, this woman is manipulative and toxic. She is trying and managing to separate him from his children, especially from OP, who seems to be the one with the most relationship with his father. So, long story short, my father and biological mother had me when they were teenagers, 16. My mother abandoned me. My grandfather, who is my father's father, raised me alone for 10 years. Then, 4 years ago, when he died, I moved in with my father, his wife, and his wife's children. I don't get along with them because they don't like me. I am not kidding. Anyways, I have been working since I was 12. I saved $3,000. I started working 2 jobs this summer, which was really a huge success. I started my own business. Not that big. I earned $1,000 from it and started tutoring, teaching piano, etc. to my teacher's children. I have been tutoring for a week though. Anyways, I have saved $1,500 in my room, hidden it in a place. I saved the other $1,500 in another place in my room. Don't put your eggs in one place, right? My stepsister is going on a party after 2 days. She was searching through my room without my agreement while I was away. She was checking if I had a nice clothes or something. She then found $1,500. Well, then I came back. They started questioning me. Their biggest questions were whether I stole it and whether I prostituted. I am 14. It was clear that I worked and earned it. Anyone that knows me knows my ways of life, but my steps like to hurt me emotionally, so I wasn't surprised. I started telling them everything, and I also told them that my teacher wanted to ask my father if I could work for him, but my father, stepmom, siblings were away for vacation, so I couldn't tell them. Then my father told me to stop working, and then my stepsister begged my stepmom if she can use my money, a little bit of it. Then my father and his wife ended up telling me to share it with all my step-siblings. I did everything to save that money. I wanted to invest it in the future, but I couldn't do anything but listen to them. That's what happened today. While many so-called family were away for vacation, I searched through my father's room. I searched his computer. I looked at his Facebook. The password was saved in his computer, so I just logged in. Then I went through his friends. Then I found old messages between my mother's friends and him. So I messaged her through my Facebook. I asked if she knows Mom's name. Then she asked who I am. Should I keep messaging her? How do I tell her? Poor OP. She earned that money, and she isn't legally obliged to pay rent yet. Why on earth should she have to share it with her siblings just because her parents said so? I think OP should speak to her school counselor and tell them that they are taking her hard-earned college savings. She should try and bring proof that the money is hers and how she earned it, so that there's no qualms about how it was acquired. Also, I don't think it is a good idea for OP to contact her mother. I guess she is even crappier than her dad. There's likely a reason she was raised by the grandfather for so long. She should be strong until she turns 18 and then try and find her own happiness in her life. Of course, going no contact with her family. Update. I got my mother's number. I texted her after dinner saying, "Good evening," my mother's name. "I am Alexia, your daughter. I wanted to talk to you if you have time, of course." Was it good? I think she already knows that I would message or text because I got the number from her friend. Her friend said that she will not tell my father that I reached to her. As for my money and my family, I gave my childhood friend my 1.5K to take care of it for me until I can keep it safe. I also got curfew of 1800 by my stepmom. It's fine, I will learn to rest and sleep a lot. I didn't want to force myself on my mother. I just wanted to get to know her, but when I messaged her, she just read it but didn't respond. Then I tried to call her and she blocked me.